Okay, I think we can start. And in the meantime, Lauren, if someone is in the waiting room, you can just let them in. Thank you. So hello everyone. Good morning from New York. My name is Despoina Afroditi Milaki, and I am the UN representative for the International Presentation Association, also known as IPA, and I will be your moderator today. In this capacity and on behalf of the IPA and our esteemed co-sponsors, the Government of Chile, Graduate Women International, Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, International Association of Charities, School Sisters of Notre Dame, Sir Optimist International, and Unanima International, and Women in Agriculture for Sustainable Development, I would like to welcome you all to our event on this first week of the UN Commission on the Status of Women. Our panel discussion will focus on highlighting projects at the community level that unlock the potential of women and girls worldwide. Community-driven efforts are pivotal in empowering women and girls to address, prevent, and eliminate gender-based violence. A very timely and important topic, of course, especially this year as 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, that landmark UN framework which set out the roadmap for gender equality and women's rights. And right now we must accelerate progress for all women and girls to make gender equality a reality for all. I hope you all enjoy this discussion. We are so grateful for your time and for your participation. In the interest of time, as we move forward, I will not offer full introductions to each one of our wonderful speakers on this panel. Their bios will be in the chat box for all of you who I'm sure are interested in learning more about our speakers. With that being said, and without further ado, I would like to open this panel discussion. Unfortunately, our first speaker of the day, the Undersecretary of Social Services of the Ministry of Social Development and Family from the Government of Chile, Ms. Francisca Gallegos, will not be able to join us due to an unforeseen last-minute development, but we have the pleasure to welcome her advisor instead, Ms. Constanza Contreras, and she will be delivering the opening remarks on her behalf. Ms. Contreras, it is a great pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for your presence here, and I would like to hand over the floor to you.
It's probably just going to be garbage, but you don't know until you listen, do you?
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. It is a great honor to be here on behalf of the Undersecretary of Social Services of Chile, Francisca Gallegos, to open this crucial and urgent space of dialogue. I would like to thank all the organizations involved in making this event possible, for allowing us to share our experiences and learn from each other. I'm going to share with you some thoughts about the topic of the meeting and about our care system, which is aligned with the topic. Gender-based violence remains one of the most widespread and persistent human rights violations in the world. In 2023, more than 51,000 women were murdered by their partners or family members, meaning that every 10 minutes, a woman lost her life due to gender-based violence. But this violence is not only expressed in its most extreme form. For instance, it is intertwined with the structural inequalities that perpetuate the exclusion of women and their social and economic vulnerability. In Latin America, the situation is particularly alarming. According to the Economic Commission for Latin America and Caribbean, at least 4,500 women were victims of femicide in the region in 2022. Countries like El Salvador and Honduras have some of the highest femicide rates in the world, reflecting a human rights crisis that requires urgent and coordinated responses. Additionally, the International Labour Organization has pointed out that the lack of access to formal employment and support systems increase women's economic dependence, often forcing them to remain in violent situations. One of the key factors in these equations it is the disproportionate burden of unpaid care work. In Chile, according to the latest International Time Use Survey, women spend more than twice as many hours as men on caregiving and domestic tasks, which directly impacts their access to employment, economic autonomy, and well-being. This burden not only reinforces gender inequalities, but also traps many women in relationships of dependence and, in many cases, in contexts of violence that are difficult to escape. In response to that, comprehensive care systems have emerged in different parts of the world to overcome gender gaps and prevent violence. These systems recognize care as a right and seek to redistribute its burden among the state, the community, and the families, ensuring that women do not have to face this responsibility alone. Experiences in countries such as Uruguay and Costa Rica have shown that strengthening support networks, professionalizing caregiving, and providing access to public services can transform the living conditions of millions of women and contribute to reducing poverty and violence. In response to this reality, Chile has implemented the National System for Care and Support named Chile Cuida, which aims to guarantee the right to care and be cared for with dignity. This system not only recognizes care work as a social responsibility, but is also based on strengthening community networks so that access to support does not depend solely on individual circumstances. Concrete examples of this initiative include the community care centers, one of the most recent programs created specifically for caregivers, which provide support to people in situations of dependency and their caregivers, allowing women who have traditionally assumed the status to access employment, education, or a space for resting. Alongside this initiative, another program.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Can you be a little bit slower, in your remarks, because people need to follow you? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry.
Really
yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Thanks.
I was talking, no worries. I was talking about our new program, Chile Te Cuida. This program incorporates a virtual community for caregivers where connections and mutual support are fostered, reinforcing the importance of accompaniment and training in this essential role. This program, I like to highlight, it is for caregivers. So it's one of the new programs we have in our system. To institutionalize and ensure the sustainability of the system, Chile Cuida, we have created the first national care policy and its corresponding plan, which provides a comprehensive framework for international measures that integrate social protection, labor rights, health services, and education. Additionally, the country is in the process of discussing a care law which seeks to legally establish the rights and responsibilities surrounding care work, making it a permanent state commitment rather than a set of isolated policies. This legal framework is a fundamental step forward, building a robust care system that prevents gender-based violence and promotes economic autonomy for women. By offering an integrated approach that combines care and autonomy, Chile Cuida, or care system, alongside the national care policy and the care law, positions itself as a concrete tool to prevent gender-based violence and empower women. It is not merely about social assistance, but about a model of justice and equity that institutionalizes care as a fundamental pillar of social protection. Today's event then reminds us that the change begins with communities. The experiences that will be shared here demonstrates that when women have access to support networks and essential services, they have a real opportunity to break free from cycles of violence and move toward autonomy. These experiences will also allow us to reflect on how communities reinforce access to social services that help women and girls overcome poverty traps, and exclusion. Furthermore, history has shown us that many times communities emerge to fill policy gaps, providing responses where institutions have yet to arrive. Over time, these local initiatives have proven their value, leading states to take on the responsibility of maintaining and scaling them. It is within this cycle of learning and transformation that we find the key to building more equitable and just societies. However, this is a challenge we cannot face in isolation. It is a collective task that demands the commitment of states, civil society, and each of us working toward a more just and equal world. Let's continue then building communities that not only resist gender-based violence, but actively prevent it and eradicate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Contreras. Thank you, Constanza, for delivering the opening remarks on behalf of the Undersecretary of Chile. And as you very well pointed out, care and support should not be seen as an act of charity, right? It's a matter of human rights.
Yeah.
The project, the program that you presented, you shared with us, the Chile Cuida, is a unique endeavor that provides better quality, more accessible care services and support, especially to the unpaid carers. The majority of them are women, right?
Women, yeah.
I have to commend Chile. Chile, for those of you who don't know that, it's among the 9 countries worldwide which have achieved gender equal cabinets with 50% or more women holding cabinet positions. Allow me to quote what your former president, Michelle Bachelet, stated 2 or 3 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, in a meeting I was attending. She said, and I quote, "When a woman enters politics, she changes. But when many women enter politics, then politics change." End of quote. So thank you again, Ms. Contreras, for being here today and for participating.
And what else did I notice about this?
Can you please mute yourself? Thank you. Okay, so I would like now to invite our next speaker of the day, Sister Dorothy Fernandes, a presentation sister and a social activist whose ministry and impactful work on people in need I had the privilege to witness in person while visiting India last year. Dorothy, thank you for joining us today. As a presentation sister, you have been working on social justice, women's empowerment, education, homelessness, to name just a few, in the wider area of Bihar for more than 20 years. Can you share with us some aspects of your work, and especially how you empower women and young girls, the unseen and unheard of every city? As you mentioned, I heard you in one of your interviews, you are calling those people like that as unseen and unheard. And what do you do to help them believe in themselves and identify their self-worth to address gender-based violence? Dorothy?
So greetings for the day and namaste from India, Patna, Bihar. I would like to place the context of this presentation and thank Dr. Despoina for this opportunity. I personally believe in the power of women to transform society and our world. And it's this belief that has found me spending my life for communities on the margins. Lamp and oil are significant for women's contribution. The general background to India goes back as the Vedic times, when the Indian woman has been a light. She has excelled man, and perhaps that's the reason why she comes across as a threat to men and to patriarchy. So when we look at the progress women have made, we still see that there is a situation where women are very deplorable, because I believe information is power. And hence, there is a way to deny women access to education and information, because they will not be able to control the movement and rights of women. Women were not meant to be seen earlier in the Vedic times, so only they were heard by the sound of their ornaments, the anklets and the bangles, which announced the appearance of women. So strategically, women have been domesticated and they have been alienated from the world because it has been difficult for men to hold women. So, Ashriya Abhiyan, that is campaigning for shelter rights, gave birth into 2004. Our main mission is to bring the unprotected citizens of Patna to spend time together to reflect on these practices and societal norms that dehumanize them. So the unprotected, the unseen, and the unheard citizens of Patna become our focus. What did we do? We began by imparting information, analyzing it to raise the consciousness of our people from a naive consciousness to a critical consciousness, thus empowering them to demand for right to shelter, right to livelihood, and right to food as the basic for city makers. So whom do we work with? We work with entire communities, homeless communities, construction workers, and vendors. We work with women, men, and children as our focus areas, imparting information. And how do we do this? We use the 2 feet approach. The first, the creating awareness about their rights, organizing them for peaceful protests and rallies against the violation of their rights. And so our first approach is advocacy with the government officials and the bureaucracy, putting pressure on them and enabling them to put their own policies in place. Because often when they put these policies, it does not come down to the ground level. So we began by first looking at the right to shelter. The second aspect of our 2 feet approach is offering services which ensure our people are enrolled for government schemes which enhances their economic status. So over the years, there has been a transformation in the lives of our people who have moved up the economic ladder. So on the ground, what does this mean? It means 20 years of struggle, which has empowered the communities to address denial of rights as violence. So violence is meted out in a very silent yet strategic manner to communities who live on the periphery. So we begin to empower them to look at the bigger picture, to look at the bigger societal violence that is taking place with them because they are on the periphery. We impart information and they are enabled to address violence. And since they have this power of fighting for their rights before the government and the bureaucracy, they also are able to address the violence, if at all meted to them at home. As a result, the men are cautious how they treat their girls and women in their families. The young woman today is opposing all forms of violence because we provide them with a platform to speak up and speak out fearlessly, thus breaking the silence. We ensure that their vulnerability does not victimize them. So some of the issues that our young girls and women they're alert to the true trafficking issues that is taking place rampantly. The consequences of being homeless and being vulnerable. The demand for equal pay for equal work. which is very much in a patriarchal society, especially in Bihar. Often the men are paid higher for the same work. But of now, creating awareness, there seems to be a change in that. So the three sectors that we work on are homeless communities, where we address eviction in huge number. We have sat on silent protest, fasted for 72 hours, 48 hours, to put the housing rights in place. We work with the informal sector as vendors and construction workers. We put the Street Vendors Act 2014, which is a legislation by the Government of India, in place. The construction workers, we are opposing the 3 labor laws, which is a violation of the rights of the workers. So we work as a pressure group, looking at legislations, cabinet decisions, which provide us with a weapon to improve the lives of our people. And thus we hope and we see that our people are regaining their lost dignity and respect. They no longer bow, but they are able to stand up and stand in front of the bulldozer and demand for their rights. So we are creating a federation of all these 3 sectors, because it gives our people the strength to stick their necks out. So joining regional, national networks as networking, our people experience synergy as we continue our struggle ahead. Our greatest challenge today, which we face, is to get our people to free them from the socio-cultural and religious milieu, which impoverishes them. Because the religious customs and connected with culture always puts the woman to follow these practices. And so it becomes very patriarchal, because most of these practices and pujas are conducted by the male, whether it is in the church, in the temple, or in the mosque. So what are we doing? We are now concentrating on 100 young women to become change makers, who are realizing that they have a life to live of their own and that they can realize their dreams. So we offer this platform and journey with these young women and the women in the settlements and the men to move ahead with faith and confidence in themselves. So in conclusion, I salute all our people who have kept the lamp of struggle aglow. To the thousands of women and men, women and children, I invite you to believe in women. A wise woman can predict the future because she creates it. So believing in women's power, we are moving ahead, that we can design the future for us and for our generations to come, especially for our daughters, where there will be justice and equity for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you for sharing your work on projects designed to support people in need within your community. Thank you for your continued commitment to improving the lives of women, the most vulnerable in the society, and ensuring that no one is left behind. You have covered a wide array of interventions and advocacy at the local level, but from what you shared with us, I will reemphasize the importance of believing in the power of women as the necessary foundation to transform our society and our world, while also strengthening collaboration with various stakeholders, ranging from other like-minded civil society organizations, to local officials and national agencies. Thank you again, Dorothy. Moving on to our next speaker, it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Ms. Hawa Varney, the Executive Director of Women in Agriculture for Sustainable Development. Hawa, you work with rural communities in Liberia to improve the living conditions of women and girls through human solidarity. Women in agriculture are vital to sustainable development because they contribute to food security, to environmental sustainability, and community development. However, they face many barriers, which encompass unequal access to resources, entrenched cultural norms, and instances of gender-based violence. What actions do you take to support and uplift women farmers to reach their full potential and to respond to gender-based violence, but also what recommendations can you provide? Hawa, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Stefina, and thank you to the team for organizing this very important, very important meeting where we are discussing the way forward, sustainable programs for women, in order to end gender-based violence. Yes, so my name is Hawa Dunor-Varney, and I'm from Liberia. For those of you who are not familiar with Liberia, Liberia is in West Africa. Yes, and I am the head of an institution called Women in Agriculture for Sustainable Development. Next slide, please. Next slide. Me? Okay. So Women in Agriculture is a women-led agriculture organization that operates to empower women and girls, especially vulnerable and at-risk women and girls, as Despoina said it. So we have our different focus, because in Liberia, the issue of gender-based violence is a big issue. Women are violated, especially being raped. In 2020, rape was declared a national emergency by the president. So there have been a lot of violations, women. In 2023, we had over 3,000 plus cases of gender-based violence, especially SGBV, and 83% of those cases were committed to women, to women around the age of 20 and below. So what do we do? As an institution, we realized that in Liberia, over 80% of women contribute towards agriculture than where they are. So now, how do we empower these women, especially looking at the sector where they are? We decided to leverage on agriculture. In agriculture, our major focus is to use it as an economic empowerment where they can get a source of food security and also get funding through their agribusinesses. But agriculture nowadays has been faced with a lot of challenges, besides the access to resources, besides the land, the issues of climate change. So our thematic focus also will focus on climate change and sustainable agriculture adaptation, capacity building. We promote women farmers advocacy into resources and land. We also, advocate for tech for agriculture, because these are areas that you highly find women having access to technology, and all of that, it becomes difficult. And not just that, but we do holistic programming to ensure that these women are aware of nutrition, because in our culture, you will realize that the women they prepare the food, but they will prefer giving it to their husband and even forget about their children, and they themselves, they become malnourished. And we also do gender-based violence prevention programs and referral. So we are not doing the core program like running a safe home and all of that, what we do referral and also provide psychosocial counseling during our programming. And then we also integrate literacy and numeracy programming, encourage lifelong education, because in Liberia, the literacy rate among women is very low. So it's something that is also having impact on them. So we also try to create that. And then sorry, please, can you go back a little bit? So we do, you know, community, and just go back to the next slide, sorry. Next slide, please. So our approaches, there are different approaches we use in ensuring that the programs are sustainable to the community. So we are very careful about community entry. We ensure that the communities, you know, that the communities are aware by including all of the different sectors. Can you go back to the approaches? Great, thank you. And we do capacity building with them, giving them skills. We also supply them with agricultural tools and quality seeds, which is very important for sustainable agriculture. And at the national level, we are into advocacy, ensuring that women have that women are included into agriculture policies, that the Ministry of Agriculture is collecting gender disaggregated data, and that women are having access to tools. And then in our programs, we also do data generation and documentation, which inform our work at the community level. And we also do integrated programming, and of course, social behavioral change, like I was telling you about the nutrition. So you can see in these photos, this is our literacy program. They are learning how to read and write. And some of them, this is their first time even holding copybooks and pen. And the other picture up there is the graduation. Next slide. But with all of this, there are a lot of challenges that women in agriculture face. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so this there are a lot of challenges, but I was just able to mention a few here. Lack of knowledge and skills on sustainable agriculture, especially now with changing condition, weather is no longer predictable, and you know, all these things are evolving. Limited funds to scale up intervention. This is at the institutional level, and even at the community level, there's limited post-harvest management skills and materials. And then our own institution, because most of the work we do, we work through volunteers, and you know, so and few staff, so maintaining them sometimes becomes difficult, and inadequate logistical support. And the major part is 80% of smallholder farmers has less than 2% have access to land ownership. Land ownership is still a problem for the farmers. So then we put the requirement there, funding and technical support, networking and partnership. This is why I really appreciate this opportunity for us to have collaborated, you know, with IPA and other partners to share, to talk, to explain our stories. Because if you don't do this, nobody will know what you are doing. And then we also need we need post-harvest management technology, we need seeds and other things to continue to enhance the work that we do. Next slide. So this is a photo gallery of some of the things that we do. These are women and girls being trained to produce their own organic pesticides, because we realize that sometimes they want to get the synthetic fertilizer is, you know, not too sustainable. So there are other things that we use in our own environment to produce it. And you can see some of the crops that we are growing. And the one they are there in the white t-shirt, we try to link women to market opportunities. So this was a trade fair that was being organized where farmers go and, you know, sell their produce so that they can have access to finance. And we are also into beekeeping. Beekeeping also presents a good opportunity. It's also preserve the environment. And the last photo you see here is our financial services that we do. They are into access to loan. They call it village savings and loan. So they save their money And through this, they are able to have easy access to finance amongst themselves. If you want to credit, you can just go easily to your group members, tell them, and they can credit you with very, very minimum interest rate that you won't get from any bank or any place. So these are some of the things that we do. The next slide. Thank you so much. We'll stop there.
Thank you, Hawa. Thank you for your insights, sharing your points and your approaches, despite the difficulties and the challenges that rural women face in Liberia. Just to name a few, the literacy rate is very low, as you mentioned, that 2% of women who have access to land. That's wow, a very important statistic to note down. But your points are also encouraging at the same time, because people are able to see the work you do. Empowering rural women is key, not only to the well-being of individuals, families, and rural communities, but also to overall economic productivity, given women's large presence in the agricultural workforce worldwide, right? Gender equality can play a significant role in promoting environmentally sustainable practices in the agricultural sector. And yes, indeed, rural women are key agents for achieving the transformational economic, environmental, and social changes required for sustainable development. Thank you again, Hawa. And I would like now to invite our next speaker, Ms. Francine Poppo, the Executive Director of the School Sisters of Notre Dame Educational Center. She will be joined with one of her students at the center, Ms. Ling Lu. A big thanks to both of you for participating in this discussion. We all know that in every context, community-led projects that focus on education play a crucial role in empowering women and girls. At the School Sisters of Notre Dame Educational Center, you offer a diverse range of educational programs tailored to meet the unique needs of and interest of women of all races and faiths. Can you share with us certain aspects or examples of such programs and services you provide that empower underserved women to reach the fullness of their potential and to address gender-based violence?
Yes, thank you. Thank you to all of our wonderful and generous sponsors and co-sponsors of today's parallel event. And thank you for inviting us in our mission at the SSND Educational Center into your discussion. Our mission statement states that the School Sisters of Notre Dame Educational Center empowers underserved women of all races and faiths within a safe and welcoming environment. The center provides programs that educate and nurture the whole person. Our SSND heritage is rooted in the belief that women are agents of transformation for the family, for the society, and actually, ultimately, for the whole world. The word empowers in our mission statement is one I think of great importance. We at the center are working hard, but we're not doing the hard work. The women we serve are doing the hard work. They are the ones who want and need to reach the fullness of their potential, sometimes against extreme odds and often with little support outside the walls of our center. And by the way, we're located in Woodhaven, Queens. It's a small area in Southeast Queens, which is part of New York City. We simply provide tools and safe space, which is an equally important phrase in our mission statement, that we provide a safe and welcoming environment. Our staff, board, volunteers, and our entire community of supporters take that aspect of safety and welcoming very seriously. One of our students walked in the door last week. Her name is Anne, and she said, "When I walk in the door of this place, I immediately feel a whole community saying to me, 'You can do it.'" Well, we have two core programs and have for 21 years in our local community. 6 levels of English for speakers of other languages and high school equivalency education for adult women. We also listen to what the women's needs are, and we help them in their mental health, their spiritual health, and their emotional health. One of the ways that we do this is through yoga. Another way is through daily reflection, just sort of checking in with them and seeing how they're doing. And another way is through private women's health education talks. So our students will be invited, usually with an RN, to have conversation just about what is happening in their worlds. And the teachers are not invited, only the students. And so they speak freely, and they speak quietly, and they speak loudly, however they want. We are an educational center. We're not a library or a school. And that's why we call ourselves a center. Our founders, the School Sisters of Notre Dame, have always been very intentional in the language that they use. Intentional language is extremely important. And so I want to focus on that word center. The center is the exact middle, right, of a circle. It's the middle of something. That is what our center and all those who serve from our center strive to be. That point that is equidistant from all points in the circle on the outside and the perimeter of that circle, it's a sweet spot. And that outside is really where many of our women are, and we want to reach them. And so we extend our arms to that entire circle and everything beyond, especially to the women at the edges. With regard to our extremely popular programs of English for speakers of second languages, Queens is the most diverse county in the entire United States. And our women speak 7 or 8 languages just this year as their first language, and come from 30 different countries. Using language effectively, including in discussions about violence against women, is crucial in the process for ending gender violence, because the tools of words empower all people, and in particular, women, who at our center may not be fluent in the dominant language that we speak. When we use precise language that names and clearly identifies the nature and impact of violence against women, for example, intimate partner violence, when we name it, we are offering tools that build a more informed and supportive environment, both for the survivors of that violence, but also for those who want to support that person and want to know how to speak about it, directly to it, and not around it. This leads to access to even more support, which ultimately the goal is to lead to justice. Today, we are very blessed to have with us one of our wonderful students, Ling. Ling grew up in China and has been living in the United States for several years. She has 2 young children, and she lives in Woodhaven, New York. She walks here every day. Ling began studying last year simultaneously. This rarely happens. We usually have women study only in our ESOL program, our English for Speakers of Other Languages, or our high school equivalency education. Sometimes they'll do one program and then the other. Ling came in, started in conversational English, ran upstairs, and joined us in high school equivalency. This year, she is focusing on the high school equivalency, and she joins us in yoga. She tutors our math students because she is an expert in math and has already passed the math section of the high school equivalency exam and the science now. She would like to share with you some of her personal experiences and thoughts on the importance of education for all humans, and in particular for women.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ling, a current GED student of this center, the SSND Education Center. And I am honored to speak before you today. I come from a small conservative village in China, where many women are still denied access to higher education. In my community, women are often seen primarily as caregivers, expected to focus on household duties, while our potential remains overlooked. This lack of opportunity traps us in traditional roles, limiting our ability to dream, grow, or achieve independence. But education is the most powerful tool we have to change this. It empowers women to change societal expectations, pursue our own careers, and take control of our futures. Educated women not only uplift ourselves, but we also inspire change in our families and communities. When women have access to knowledge, we have the ability to influence generations to improve entire societies. In my own family, I've seen these challenges firsthand. My mother, like so many women, balances her job and the responsibilities of managing our household. Despite her hard work, her contributions often go unrecognized. My father works outside the home, but these frustrations become my mother's emotional burden to bear on top of everything else. This is not the future I want for myself or for other women. I want a future where women are free to pursue education and opportunities beyond the limitations imposed by tradition. Education gives women the confidence, the tools, and the freedom to break free from these roles and achieve our full potential. Thanks to the School Sisters of Notre Dame Educational Center, I have experienced firsthand how transformative education can be. It has empowered me to imagine a future where women are seen as equals, where we can make our own decisions, shape our own lives, and contribute meaningfully to society. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ling. Thank you, Francine. Thank you to both of you for sharing these inspiring words. I mean, until now, all of the speakers, the common denominator of their presentation is one thing. They all stress the need to have women as agents of transformation, which is very important to note. I can't do anything but reiterate what Francine mentioned. I like that quote, we work hard, but we are not doing the hard work. They are doing the hard work. And thank you, Francine, for sharing those thoughts. Ling, I mean, your experience is one of a kind. You did highlight the need of having education accessed by all women. That's your dream in the future, and highlighting that the most powerful tool is education in order to empower women to address gender-based violence. Education is central in efforts to address and prevent gender-based violence. I think that you are all aware that there are numerous data and research that indicating women with at least a secondary level education are not as likely as their less educated peers to experience violence. And in addition, men with at least secondary education are not as likely as their less educated peers to perpetrate violence. Yes, education systems have the power to challenge harmful gender norms, to promote equality and foster respectful relationships. Thank you again to both of you. Our next speaker is Ms. Sonide Simon, a principal community planner and founder of Regenerating Roots Consulting, who also serves on the Vincentian Family Haiti Initiative Board. Sonide, we're extremely happy that you can join us here today. Your group is working with the young mothers in the community of Savane Perdu, which is located in the Plateau Central Department of Haiti, where you provide training that teaches these young women life skills. and you build their capacity to start a small business. How do these skills help to break the cycle of gender-based violence in your community?
Well, thank you for having me. And I'm going to answer that once I give a brief background on who we are. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here to hear this. My name is Sonide Simon, as she has said, Sonide Simon-Romain. And one of the things that I would love for you guys to know about is that Vincentian Family Hate Initiative. What we do is we help communities build themselves and help themselves. Like I think it was said earlier, our work is we do hard work, but they do the harder work. And I totally misquoted that, but I did love hearing that because that's what we do as well, in a way where we help to give support where they're already doing the work. And we help to meet those gaps and to make systemic change within this community by creating partnerships with the area, with community members. And right now our team is predominant as all local leaders within the community to do this work because it's their community. And so our goal is to just help them to advance their community. So one of the things that is important for us to know is that while we were working in this community, our goal, we were just thinking about all the economic factors when it came to agriculture, when it came to reforestation, and just like, how do we help support this community? One thing that we noticed was that we had an issue of young mothers in our community. We found that in Haiti in general, 30% of women of childbearing age, they suffer from physical violence. But we also found that 45% of that was happening with intimate partners. To us, that was a huge number. And so then to look a little bit further as the work that we were doing, working with schools and working with farmers, was that within this community, a lot of our young mothers was because the children go to school. We have school ages that reach up to about 12 years old, and then they were sent off into local cities to complete their secondary aspect of school. So that's our middle grades up to high school in the US context. But what was hard with that was that not all of our families were able to afford to send their children or rent homes for them to live in the city. And so a lot of the young girls were left within the community because girls are not always considered your most important one to invest in. And so they were left to, and we had a lot of teenage mothers. And so this teenage mothers became outcasts within their community, become shunned. You're not considered to be leaders, so you can't lead in your church or you can't lead in your local social groups. And what was some of the work that we were doing with our directors was that after having children, they weren't allowed back into school to complete school, even if they wanted to. And that became an issue that we also tried to address with our school directors, which were all male, actually, with our school directors to help them understand the importance of allowing a woman to return back into the education system. So all that defaults to being dependent on our partners, being dependent on our family members, being dependent on anyone that's willing to take me in and not be ashamed by what I have done. The photo on the right is one of the young woman that's holding the child. She actually was one that helped me kind of clue in what was happening in our community because she was 16 years old. She's pregnant in this picture. You can't really see her stomach. She's 16 years old, pregnant with her third child. Their first child they had sent away to live with another family. She kept her second child and she was pregnant with the third, all because she was dependent on a man to help support her family in order for her to be considered of some type of standard within the community. And so she would come and join us in a lot of our activities that we would have for young children or that we would have for farmers. She didn't have her own land to farm. So I was like, why is she here? Until I understood her story more. And her story was that of many folks not having a social space and people to be around because no one wants to truly kind of surround themselves with you. And so we started this literary group, which did a couple things. Outside of having books, it helped them to improve their education, their literacy within this community, because one of the things to know about Haiti is that we have high illiterate rates within our community. So this helped to improve that, but also to engage around thematic themes. So we take exciting stories that we were able to find in Creole, in order to talk about life skills, in order to talk about empowerment for our women We did this work with an organization called Toya Foundation, whose goal is to help with women rights and women empowerment, and use their curriculum for our group in order to help the women to understand that they are important. You may be young, you may not always be supported by those around you, but the community needs you. So this led for them to become leaders within their communities. To answer the question that you had was, how do these skill sets help them to combat gender-based violence, is that what ends up happening is, as they learn practical skills as well as these soft skills that they were learning skills such as sewing. They were learning skills of creating, I thought was important, creating products that would normally be imported into the country. They started to create these products and sell them at a lower rate than what folks would find that were imported, and probably even healthier for them with the lack of all the chemicals that were used in imported products, in order for them to, one, make their own income, become independent of those that were holding them in a sense hostage at times, but at the same time helping them to become themselves, helping them to learn themselves and to love themselves. So it was a combination of soft and hard skills in order to do that. The picture that you have in front of you is what they're currently working on right now, is advanced sewing skills. This is when they began the program, but advanced sewing skills. What sewing means in our community is that you don't have to pay a seamstress to make all the uniforms that your child needs for a school year. So a lot of our farmers spend most of their years making income in order to send their children to school. And uniforms is a big deal because it's not something that you can go purchase at your local stores, right? They're always really unique and with all these beautiful fabrics. And so now our mothers are able to learn to make it. They're able to take up old clothing and make them into something new. Currently, what they're working on right now is they also want to work on learning. There's different specialty cooking skills as well as baking skills. And included with that is utilizing an old building of ours to turn it into an event hall. And it's like an all-inclusive event hall where they'll be able to provide you with your cakes and your foods that you need for your event, as well as learning decoration skills that we're doing with our young girls as well, decoration skills. So you have this all-in-one space that in our rural community, we don't normally have, because it's just something that happens in the bigger cities. And so this has become really important for our girls, and this has turned them into their own leaders within our community, where people are calling them to show them, to teach them about, to have them show their groups how to do different skills and how to, one example, what I would love to share was one with a church. Church wouldn't want to associate themselves with this. A church had them come to show their women's group how to make this liquid soap and whatnot, and that was important for them because now they felt important. Now they felt included, and now they felt like they can speak in our community. The woman that I'm showing here in this picture, her name is Junie. Junie was a young mother when I met her. She had 3 kids of her own, 3 boys, and she wasn't able to go back to school, but she was really bright. And so what I felt was like, I think you're going to become our librarian. So she was like, what? And I'm like, I'm going to teach you to use a computer, and you're going to learn, and you're going to start to type up the letters that you see in these books. And so that way you can categorize for us. And she would come every day, tell me a little bit about herself, and she'd bring her son with her because there was nowhere else to leave him. And I said, bring him. This is, we support each other. The idea is to support one another. And she ended up actually leaving our organization about a year or so ago because our country is in political strife, as a lot know. And so she went over to the Dominican Republic, where now she's not working in lower end jobs in the Dominican Republic, but she's able to work in her children's school that's there because she had learned to use a computer. She had learned to pick up different skill sets that is helping her succeed there in that country. The work that we do is important. People may not all see all the bright shining lights behind it, but it's extremely important in our own community, as it's been helping our girls to no longer be ones that are having low skill sets, but we have instilled them with skills that they can use within the community as well as outside of the community. Our plans is that we want to grow our library so it's more inclusive of more of the books that we can learn and read from, and that our girls will learn, and our girls and women can learn to read even more. but also helping them with the skills of saving and budgeting to be able to not only stay to feed ourselves for the day, but feed ourselves and our children and build that wealth that's needed within our community. We want to diversify our trade skills in order for us to partner with, so we want to partner up with more groups that are out there, maybe not necessarily just in Haiti, because now we have our own internet system that we're trying to broaden with, and also connecting women with regional women groups in order to not keep this something that's happening within our small rural town, but to have this as a regional event that hopefully maybe one day will go national as we grow this young mothers group. So that's all I have for you today, and I thank you for this opportunity to share about the work that we are doing here in Haiti.
Thank you, Sonide. Indeed, thank you for sharing this incredible work of yours, what you do for the young women in Haiti. You highlighted so many times the importance of putting women at the center of the community as an integral part of the community, and the need, that they must feel included. I mean, your work is amazing, especially when it comes to the work you do in a country like Haiti, which faces a multidimensional crisis over the past years. Yes, schools have been forced to close as a result of escalating violence, and unfortunately, with children being exposed to the risk of recruitment by gangs. Gang violence is at the center of the crisis, which has displaced many, over 1 million people, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Yeah, and once this security situation is stabilized, hopefully sometime soon, yeah, there needs to be investment in the development of socioeconomic opportunities, like the examples you mentioned, to enable the people of Haiti to access better living conditions and ensure lasting stability and prosperity of the country. Thank you, Sonide, again for being here. Before we hear our last speaker, I would like to remind everyone that after that, we will open the floor for the Q&A section. So please start thinking about your questions, ready to share them with us in the chat box. Kind request, please keep your questions short, if possible. And if you want, you can indicate the speaker that your question is being addressed to. Now, our last speaker of the day is Ms. Niki Devaris-Morgulis, the coordinating director of the Girls Delegate program, which is a signature initiative of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. Thank you, Niki, for joining this panel discussion. The Girls Delegate program began as a pilot initiative in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, and has since grown into a national program. It engages girls from across the United States in training and relevant projects that build their capacity to take on leadership roles while focusing on gender equality, girls' rights, and social justice. So, Niki, what are girls doing today that helps inform gender-based violence prevention policies and empowering girls to prevent violence in their own communities?
Elimera, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Thank you very much, Despoina, for inviting me to be part of this panel. I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you, and honestly a little nervous to go after all of those fabulous speakers. So as Despoina mentioned, the Girl Delegate Program is an initiative of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, empowering young girls across the United States to step into leadership roles while advocating for gender equality, girls' rights, and social justice. Now, we partner with missions, UN agencies, and other non-governmental organizations or NGOs to help girls build the skills and the knowledge they need to prevent gender-based violence and to contribute to positive change in their communities, both local and global communities. One of our main partners, of which we are members, is various working groups, but specifically one very close to us is the Working Group on Girls, or WGG. It's a coalition, and I know several of you on this call are members, a coalition of NGOs committed to safeguarding girls' rights and promote their full and meaningful participation in global decision-making by collaborating directly with them and sharing their voices at the UN. Now, a powerful example of girls leading the charge comes from our collaborative shadow report, the WGG shadow report, which compiled insights from local consultations held with girls worldwide, including girls from the girl delegates from the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. Now, these conversations heighten numerous forms of violence girls face, from physical and verbal abuse to online harassment and trafficking. The report revealed that violence against girls is often normalized and perpetrated by individuals in positions of power and can take place in schools, homes, workplaces, and through technology. What is most important is that girls today are not just victims of violence, they are actively shaping solutions. Through their advocacy and leadership, they are helping to inform gender-based violence prevention policies and programs. For example, the girls who participated in the consultation voiced their concerns about the lack of adequate laws and support systems to protect them, particularly when it comes to online violence. They also spoke about the need for stronger laws to penalize companies that allow online abuse, which has become one of the most insidious forms of violence against girls today. These girls' voices are now part of international discussions, helping to shape policies that will protect girls both online and offline. Girls are also taking action in their own communities by creating safe spaces for discussion. Virtual conversation circles, town halls, and online platforms provide a place for girls to share their experiences and speak out against violence. These spaces give girls a chance to collaborate with their peers and brainstorm solutions, ensuring that their voices are heard in the fight for their rights. These safe spaces are crucial for empowering girls, providing them with the support they need to act as agents of change. The Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America's girl delegates are a prime example of how young girls are making their voices heard. These delegates are not only advocating within their communities, but they are also directly engaging with representatives at the national and international levels. By speaking to policymakers on behalf of themselves, of Greek Orthodox girls everywhere, and girls around the world, all girls, they ensure that girls' needs and rights are at the forefront of the decision-making process. Of course, not all girls have access to spaces where their voices can be heard. Barriers such as economic challenges, sociopolitical restrictions, and lack of access to decision-making platforms often prevent girls from participating in discussions that shape their futures. However, those girls who have access, like the girl delegates from the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, are responsible. It's their duty to advocate on behalf of those who cannot. These delegates are ensuring that all girls, regardless of their circumstances, have a seat at their table, at the table, and that their needs are addressed in global conversations on gender-based violence. Girls today are leading efforts to inform prevention policies and empower their communities. Through initiatives, as I stated before, and things like the WGG Shadow Report, they are helping to shape the global understanding of violence against girls and the steps needed to prevent it. By pushing for stronger laws, more supportive services, and greater community awareness, girls are advocating for a world where violence is not tolerated and where girls are safe, empowered, and equal. Now, the work of the Girl Delegate Program, in partnership with efforts like the WGG and like those that we do with other UN agencies, demonstrates the invaluable role that girls play in the fight against gender-based violence. Through creating safe spaces for discussion, advocating for better policies, and empowering their peers, girls are not only informing policy, but they are also driving change in their communities and around the world. They are showing us that when girls lead, the world becomes a safer and more just place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Niki. Thank you for being here today, and for your for your inspiring remarks. Especially, I loved what you pointed out, that girls are actively shaping solutions, sharing all those examples of your work, and I really appreciate the fact that you reaffirmed the ongoing need for placing young women and young girls at the heart of every effort to achieve gender equality and build a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. Let us not forget that the Beijing Plus 30 action agenda that was adopted the day before yesterday on the sidelines of the ongoing Commission on the Status of Women has girls and young women at its core as the best way to guarantee success today and tomorrow. So thank you again, Niki. At this point, we will open the floor for questions and give the audience the opportunity to share their thoughts. If you want to share your question, you can do so by sending it in the chat box, or you can simply raise your hand and I'll give you the floor. Don't be shy. I don't see any. Yes, I see a raised hand from Sebaka. Derek, yeah, you have the floor, please. We can't hear you. Are you there? Can you check? Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Sebaka Derek. I just have a general question to all the panelists. I wanted to ask how best could women in conflict-related areas be able to have their rights protected, and also to ensure that, because I'm speaking of a perspective where we have women in DR Congo facing issues of rape as a weapon of war, and most of them are being threatened, forcefully dragged into joining the rebel groups. So you find out that women are facing these threats each and every day. I also love the way the issues of women are being addressed here. I'm learning a lot, and I really thank you very much, Doctor, for this opportunity and for the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sebaka. So who wants to take this question from our wonderful speakers?
Okay.
Yes, Hawa, please, you have the floor.
All right, I'm coming in because he spoke about, you know, countries that have experienced conflict or that are like in conflict now. My country, Liberia, we experienced 14 years of civil unrest. There was war. And, you know, during crisis, during conflict, it is the women and children that suffer the most. So programs should be designed to help them, like program that caters to women, like program that economic empowerment programs, like the village savings and loans that I talk about, like bringing them together. It's not about just saving, but the opportunity that they have to meet, at least if it is once a week, twice a week, to just share among themselves, build that solidarity. Should be programs like that. And then programs that that enhance their ability to have food. You know, food during war or during civil crisis can be very, very problematic. And in our setting, you will understand that it is the mothers, it is the women that takes care of the feeding of the home. So if programs that address these food insecurity gaps, that they will empower women, even if it is for them to find some jobs to do where they can be able to earn money, is also very important. So yes, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Hawa. So anyone else that would like to respond to Derek's question? it is really important that this question was raised, especially since, sexual violence against women and girls is widespread in conflict, as Derek mentioned, and oftenly used as a war tactic. I think it was 2023 that the UN verified cases of conflict-related violence increased by 50%. So that's something that we should keep in our consideration. Yes, Dorothy, you have raised your hand. Do you want to?
Yes, I'd like to add to that. I see that economic empowerment is very important also. When we talk about women being agents of transformation, I think we have to have the economic empowerment, encourage women to create space for them to raise their economic status in the family and in the community. Because if you are not economically empowered and you don't have a bargaining capacity, nobody listens to you. That has been my experience. So what we do is training women to sew as seamstresses. Every year we turn out about 150 women. So that gives them some status and prestige in the family. So in the war-torn zones, I think also, because we are facing this in Manipur in the northeast in India, and we are struggling with this, how to make the women take up the economic reforms so that they become empowered.
True. Thank you, Dorothy. And before, yes, Sonide, please.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take away from the time. But I did want to say, so our organization, VFHI, we work in a smaller community. So we're not always, we have all the folks coming into our community, but I'm with another organization where we are in Port-au-Prince, where a lot of this similar to what Mr. Derek has mentioned occurs. And as much as everything that everyone mentioned is extremely important. And another thing that's also to be added is that we support them with psychological assistance as well when it comes to mental health, because they're now thrown into this traumatic space as women. And also someone was asking about what are we doing with the boys and men at the same time. But this is traumatic for everyone within a family, where we have gangsters coming into homes and raping the women in front of boys and men. And so you have everyone that's traumatized. And so one of the things that we've been doing is helping with the psychological aspect of it all, because now you have a trauma-torn country. And so we have to also remember that aspect when it comes to working within women and girls.
You're so right, Sonide. Thank you. Sarah, you have your hand raised before I move on or next.
Yes. Good evening and good morning. It's me, Sarah from Pakistan. I become very happy because this is my first time meeting with everyone, and many female. They talk about the women and girls, and it's very, very important. I become very happy because here in Pakistan, I'm also working since 2016 with I Support the Girls. Basically, it's also working because if I'm talking about my country, we can't talk about on our menstrual hygiene products and personal health hygiene openly. So I'm working in my area to spread create awareness among females. What is your importance? Like, what is your importance? How you can restore their dignity? So I'm distributing menstrual hygiene products and create awareness and telling them what is right and wrong, because when I'm going to if I'm going to remember my childhood, I still remember that if someone is going to touch me in a very bad way, I'm not going to share. I didn't share with my any friend or even with my mother as well. But by creating these type of awareness, even the sister just before me, she talked about the psychological effects. Obviously, when you're going to suppress each and everything in our hearts, the psychological cases come occurs. Like, we are not going to share what's going on with us, but as a female, as a woman, we are now standing for other women, so we can train them, we can teach them that you have some importance. We are restoring the dignity. So I'm very grateful for all the women who are working on these things, and thank you so much. I really become very happy to attend this session. Very good.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank Thank you.
This thing honestly really motivate me to do more work in Pakistan, because I'm working on education as well. I'm working on menstrual hygiene as well. And I do have one center where girls are marginalized girls are getting the training of how to stitch undergarments, like their bras and underwear, and they are selling it and they are become empowered. So this is a very important thing for me today.
Yeah, indeed, Sarah. And thank you for being here. Thank you for raising your voice. We don't have much time, so I'll just run a very quick round of two more questions. One was on the chat box. How do we educate boys and men, especially when it comes to rape? I would have to ask Francine if that's part of your program, or have you considered educating boys and girls in general, not only about the horror of rape? And then I'll give the floor to Dorothy. I know that she's doing very close work with men and boys in her community, and if that has come up to their work. Yes, Francine, you have the floor. Thank you.
We do not specifically educate about rape, but when we do the Women's Health Initiative, the students are all invited into one big room, closed door with the nurse, and they are invited to speak, and they're taught. I know that this is not related to the answer to your question, but one of the things that I know she did was with them was breast care. And she explained the proper way to check your breasts. And these are things that women are not comfortable speaking about. And this was a safe place to do that. We do have cases of domestic violence. We do have cases of intimate violence, intimate sexual violence. And these are, again, precise language is what we use. We speak openly about it. And we refer our students to social services in the area. We have a lot of partners. We have several community supporters, and we refer our students always specifically. We follow up with them. We visit them in their homes. We make sure that they have a safe space. And if they don't, we offer space. So we make sure we do what we can in our small capacity to ensure that the students know that this is a place they can come where they can learn how they can get help and where they can go for that help. And we are available to them 24/7. They can call us, they can email us, and we do respond to our students. And
that's important as well, Francine, and thank you for pointing that out. Dorothy, are you there? Do you have anything to share about? Yes, how you educate?
Since we work with communities, that means men and women and children. So in the process of educating the young girls, because the women and the girls are so much targeted, the young boys came around and said, what about us? When are you going to bring us together? So we are planning, we have already begun to take the boys, because I think if we are talking about violence and rape and trafficking, I think the boys need to know how to respect the girls, not only the women and girls in their own families, but because in India we have a beautiful festival called Raksha Bandhan, where the girl ties a band on the brother and asks him to protect him as a sign of protection. So we take it from there. We said we don't only protect our own sisters, but every girl and every woman is somebody's sister and brother. So creating the consciousness of these young boys and men, I think we can say that there is a change in the way that men and boys look at girls, because when they are brought together, that curiosity gets diminished and they begin to look at each other as human beings. So I think we have to educate and empower both the boys and the women. If we want to address rape, I think boys need and men need to be educated on this. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you. And I'll continue with the question from Naomi. She said that the report suggests that women are disproportionately affected by economic crisis, as they are more likely to lose their jobs, drop out of school, forego healthcare, etc. At the moment, there are many countries in the world facing economic crisis, both in the global north and south. How can we ensure that we keep progressing and do not go backwards and undo all the incredible advancements and gains that we have achieved in times of crisis? So yes, anyone from the panel that would like to address this question? Sonide, are you talking, or Dorothy? Yes, please, again. So thank you. Dorothy, you have your hand raised. Dorothy, would you like to take the floor?
Yes, I will.
Yes, please do.
Sorry.
You're muted. Yeah.
I'm muted, I think.
Yeah.
No, I'm. What I would like to say in this context is that more of these kind of sessions need to be to happen, because what the thread that went round through all the presentations as women as agents of transformation. And I think we need to. I believe that this third millennium belongs to the women. And there are so many women leaders doing significant work, but are not known. So I would request all of us who have presented today here and all those who have gathered, I think we need to have a large network. And I talked to Sarah, especially from Pakistan. I think there is so much that we can offer. So maybe at the southern globe or the northern globe, we need to bring ourselves together, have this energy, and really work towards the contribution of women, recognizing it and celebrating it, because there is a big difference women are making at every level. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you for your comment. Is anybody else that would like to take the question from Naomi? No? I think, Naomi, if you allow me to share a comment, a very brief, we need to keep advocating for, bridging the divide between global north and south, and the debt relief issue that many developing countries are facing is a huge advocacy priority for us here at the UN. These are some examples of trying to not to go backwards, but instead to move forward. Unfortunately, we don't have much time, so I have to, Naomi, if you would like, we can talk about it later more extensively. There is one question, where is that? In the chat box. So give me one moment, I'll find it. I love Jim's comment that we need men to be present in these kind of sessions and meetings in order to eliminate gender-based violence. So yeah, Jacqueline, she raised the question regarding what are the most effective strategies to break down the barriers, preventing women from getting leadership positions. She also pointed out, stressed the topic of climate change and how this affects especially women, the most vulnerable. How can we help them? Anyone from the panel that would like to take this question? I know we are over our time. It's just that we need to give a few more minutes to those people who shared those questions. Bonita, yes, please, you have the floor.
Thank you for the opportunity to respond, and I am late to this meeting, but I wanted to contribute that I teach at the graduate engineering program at Santa Clara University. The importance of the relational competencies of women and having an understanding of the mindset that women often bring that is often misinterpreted. For instance, that we have a more fire prevention way of seeing things, being able to have foresight as to what is going on and being able to prevent issues and develop products that are further down the line than what is often seen most immediately by the more firefighting mentality. And by what I call calling out the brilliance of women and pointing out these competencies, that women become valued. And it also does reduce conflict and arguments and misunderstandings. Because I have had men say, oh, women aren't ready to be promoted because they're scattered and all over the place. And to be able to say, no, that's not that we're scattered. We're purposefully looking at the whole context and connecting the dots and different ideas to bring greater understanding. And to have men understand that women are bringing this very valuable way of seeing the world and seeing business and seeing climate concerns, all of these things, has a way of both elevating the ideas and bringing the ideas into focus and to use rather than being ignored, and also creating value for women. And my own purpose is when we create a greater value for women in the workplace, we can also redesign the workplace. And that also means redesigning home. So that's just an introduction to what I do. And I'm really an advocate for highlighting and for women to be able to say, sit down at a new group and say, look, you can count on me for being a fire preventer and looking at all the ramifications of a given issue and bringing in the bigger picture so that the men understand from the get-go. And then we also putting language into the culture of, and there's some men that are relational too. We have to be able to identify that, and that's useful as well.
You're very right, Bonita, and thank you for sharing your perspective on the matter. Unfortunately, we don't have much time. Time doesn't allow us to accept any further questions. Ling, your question on any working group for South Asia, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is in the Zoom invite that you received, and we will be able to have a more deep, thorough discussion on that. And I'll share with you some opportunities to work with. For those of you that ask about the recording, everything will be shared with you after this meeting. I really appreciate the different perspectives that have brought forth all of our speakers in their presentations and the community-driven projects. Last week here at the UN, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of the landmark conference that took place in 1995 in Beijing, and its reaffirmation that women's rights are human rights. 30 years later, yes, women have broken barriers and reshaped societies. Yet these gains remain fragile and far from enough, as women and girls still face unimaginable challenges. Many of our speakers highlighted and shared those challenges. Leveraging community engagement, enhancing support services, particularly to the marginalized and vulnerable population, strengthening collaboration, as again, many of our speakers pointed out, and advocating for systemic change is a proven path to enduring solutions, is a proven path to break the cycle of gender-based violence and its adverse effects on individuals and communities. This is the moment to push forward. Just 5 years left until the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda, and this must be our turning point to succeed in our aspirations to achieving gender equality. It has been a pleasure to have you all with us today. I apologize for taking more of your time than scheduled. Before we conclude, I wish to thank all of our wonderful speakers for this rich and informative discussion. We are extremely grateful for joining us today. A big thanks, of course, to all of you, to all of our attendees who joined us this morning. And a special thanks goes to our co-sponsors for supporting us in this endeavor. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you again in similar projects. Thank you. Bye.
Well done. Thank you.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye, Francisca.
Thank you. Well done, Dora.